calling all Barbadians to stand up and show your love for Barbados and call for the preservation of our heritage and land. This Saturday, April 5th, 10 a.m., let us march together from Liquidation Center to JEMMOTTS Lane. Join in this public demonstration of patriotism and celebration of national pride.
Welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, Barbados. Are we ready? Are we ready? Listen, man, we are live and ready to go. Let me just say a big good evening to who was first here? Who was the first person here? Judy. Judy Jills. Oh my goodness, what we would do without you, Judy. I want to personally and sincerely thank you. When I turn on this computer, I know that there are some people that are going to be here, and I know you are one of them. And of course, Mr. Teroni Hall, welcome, and Queen B. All of you guys are always logged on. Matthew Brown, you heating up the place. We're going to have to play. Dave, get Matthew Brown. We have to play his sometime before 7:30. Matthew Brown, that was amazing today. Vernon Garnes, Bonnie Springer, Owen Hines, welcome just in time. Just in time. CG, guess what? We don't have a whole bag of work for you to do on this weekend coming up. You don't have a whole lot of work to do because we are going to, why, CG? Tell them, CG. We are going to use the flags. So everybody, we have flags. I think we might have flags for everybody, all right? But if you have flags at home, you bring your flags, all right? Right, CG? So we don't have all that work for you. Jacqueline, Ali, and Pauline Holder. Oh, my Lord. Yes, let them know, Pauline. They don't have to wait to give the likes. We have to fight, we have to fight. This is all this is the only one I have left. So we've got to fight to keep it. And it's a computer, it's AI. So you've got to like. Come on, guys. You can't stop now. Calendar 264. Shirley. Hey, Shirley. Sonny, you need to come and join me on Friday night. I need you on Friday night. This little woman, listen, she is a little bit, but in Jamaica, we said she a little, but she alawa. She is one of the most serious black girls I know, right, Sonny? Nat Grant, hello, Nat Grant, Callie B, Judith and Clark, Joy and Roberts. Marcia, how are you, Bajan boy? How are you, Bajan boy? I feel like I haven't seen you in a little bit, though. But it's good to see everybody. Oh, my goodness. Good. Please like up and share up. It's going to be amazing. We're going to see each other on the weekend, folks. But right now, this is the anthem. Oh, my gosh. This is what we stand behind. Yeah, so we are going to now, wherever you are, unless you're driving. If you're home in the kitchen, you're going to stand at attention, okay, for the playing of the national anthem. Anybody feeling you're getting ready for Saturday yet? Listen, are we getting ready for Saturday? Just hearing the anthem gets me all ready for Saturday, because this is we need our prime minister to know that our marches, it's all about love for our country. Huh? What is it that she does not understand, Madam Prime Minister Motley? This is all about love for our country, and that is why, guys, that we are calling for windows to the sea. Windows to the sea. That's what we're calling for. Now, on your screen, what you're looking at on your screen, actually, let me give you. It's actually Bats Rock. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? I want you to think about what comes to mind when you see this. Write in the comment section what comes to mind. Huh? This is part of what we're fighting for, guys. Windows to the sea. This is what there was a father, and I think it's Father Hatch. Somebody let me know if I keep saying the name wrongly, so someone can let me know. But I think it's Father Hatch, and he a religious man, a spiritual man, and he was fighting for this. And I think this is so important. But I want to ask you guys, can you put in the comment section what comes to mind? Yes, Reverend Andrew Hatch. When you see this, what are the feelings? What are the thoughts? What conjures up in the mind, in your emotions? Wow, one day soon you won't be going there. Yes, let's talk about the beauty of it. Let's talk about be positive. Let's talk about the positive feelings, okay? As you look at it. And this is what we want our Prime Minister to know, that this is part of what we are fighting for. And us being able to see this is going to be very, very important to our spiritual health, our mental health, our emotional health. Yes, very, very important. I want to remind us that the ocean is more than just water. It is a sacred window to the divine, a connection to something greater than ourselves. When we shut out the sea, we shut out a part of our spiritual consciousness. We sever one of the ways we connect to God, to nature, and to our own souls. This is why we cannot allow 9-story or 12-story hotels and towering concrete walls to block our view, our access, and our connection to the ocean. Barbados, if we do, we risk becoming a nation without God consciousness, pushed further inland, detached from the rhythms of the waves that have guided us for generations. Let's not overdevelop our country at the cost of our spiritual well-being. The ocean is not just a resource. It is a reminder of who we are, where we come from. And Barbados, if we lose that, what else will we lose? I want us to reflect on that. Really reflect on that, Barbados. This is important, and I believe that partly of some of what we're seeing happening in Barbados at the moment, it is a lack of spiritual consciousness. And it's not the only thing, it's also bad governance. It's a lack of proper legislation and proper, proper governance, really. A lot of it is that, but it's also our souls are aching for that connection, that spiritual connection. And regardless of the faith, And the reality is that when we shut out more of this, we are basically putting up these concrete walls that are shutting off our souls from the existence of the divine. And I think that that is so important. And with that, I want us to take a look at that road that leads us to on the West Coast. We're going to take a look at the West Coast before we start, before we go any further. And we're going to look at some of the windows to the sea. And this is just, I'm just giving you a taste tonight, because I'm going to be going with my camera, and we're going to be doing a mic on the move. And I want you to see that that road there that takes us there on the West Coast. And what I want us to note, guys, can anybody tell me, guess how many windows of the sea that we're supposed to have? They've done all of this development, and they're supposed to leave access, free access for us to the beach, right? That's the law, isn't it? It's the law. We are supposed to have, anybody can take a guess. Tell me a guess. How many right along that road? Okay, the West Coast. Let's look at Bats Rock to Folkestone, right? Bats Rock to Folkestone. Somebody says, oh, that we're only supposed to have 4 windows. How many you think that is really that by law then, or not even by law, but should be accessible? How many? Can I tell you, guys? There's supposed to be 15 access points. There might be more, but there's supposed to be 15 access points. And why I say there might be more, everybody might not be following the law, but there's supposed to be 15 access points. But can I tell you something? That only 4 are really operating. Only 4 are really operating. This is calling out all of those establishments right there between Bats Rock to Folkestone. The question is, are they following the law? The law says that we should always have access to the beach, right? Isn't that the law? Isn't that the law in Barbados? I know it is minimum, but let's deal with what the law is saying, okay? Let's see with what the law is saying, because we already established that we need windows to the sea. So look, guys. Look, guys, of course we want more than access, but I want to show you what they have reduced us to, what they are giving us. Dave, if Dave could put up, some of those pictures for me on the screen, right? There is an access that we have there with actually an entire tree that is blocking the access. And I agree with you, look up, the access alone is really settling for a minimum. But the law says access, okay? So I'm just looking at that now, all right? What we want entire windows, right? So work with me, look up. But you let me move this banner from here. You believe this is an access to the sea? This is supposed to be access. There's a large tree growing in the middle of it. And you see how dark it is? This is one on, and we don't want to embarrass any properties right now, at this moment. Not now. Bats Rock to Folkestone. There is an establishment which by law is supposed to give us access to the beach. And this is it. Y'all see this? This is why the good Senator Crystal Haynes, says some of these places you're trying to get to the beach, you could sprain an ankle. Huh? Look at this other one. Look at this. This is this is access. Look at it. This is the establishment there on the right, and they're giving us access. Look at all of these rocks and things in here, right? And you see that sea, that you see the sea there, that it comes over. Look at where you have to take your children. Look at this. Look at the sea. Look at it. So when you walk in, water must splash you and wet you up. Right? Right? Look at it. We're gonna expose them. We're gonna expose. This is what I want our government to see. And I want Barbadians to understand that this is what happened when they say you give them an inch and they take a mile. This is them pretending to give you access. Somebody can walk on this. Look at it. When you walk down, look. What you see in there's a step, but look at the step. The thing is eroded. You could take your children along there. Are we animals? Are we animals? And when we go out to march, we're being told that we're against investment. It's a hate march against investment. And this is what we are being subjected to, Barbadians. Dave, show them the other one. And we're not going to, right now, I'm not calling the names now, but I'm going to be going down there with my camera. Look at this. Now, folks, this one is boarded up. Anybody can tell me why you think this one is boarded up? This is boarded up because 2 female tourists were attacked in this on this access. Listen, I saw some of what just by driving. I don't know if Dave, I don't know, asking him to do a miracle right now, but to find when we have some footage with us driving along that road there. And if he can find it and put it up, that's great, because I didn't request it earlier. But some of them, I said to Dave, as a female, I would feel very, very vulnerable walking along those access points, because you just have the entrance and the exit, and so you're basically walking in a tunnel. So if you get caught, and somebody can trap you at the back and trap you at the front, because you're basically going in like this. The person who took the picture says some of the places she has to turn to the side and her belly button touching the wall. And so tourists, because that's the only thing we respond to when tourists are attacked, because of females that look like me and you, we're not that valuable. We're not that valuable. They could rape us. They could do whatever they want to do. They could attack us. We could walk and our foot ring and break. It don't matter. We're not tourists. They had to close it off because 2 female tourists were attacked there. And I'm not surprised, because all they have to do is to corner you, the front end, because it's a passageway literally that you go. Some of them are so small. As I said, the person who did this to me said they have to turn to the side. Now, what I want to say to us, why did I bring this up to you tonight? I want you to try to imagine Bay Street. Imagine where the government headquarters is. Imagine JEMMOTTS Lane. Imagine the BDF. Imagine all of that. Where the yacht club is. Imagine all of that going all the way up there. What they're basically trying to do is to create another of that area from Bat Rock to Folkestone. That's what you're going to get. So right now, the windows to the sea that we have, we will no longer have that. Correct. We are seeing as 3/5 humans, because their intention is to move us inland. because our skin can't take, we're not supposed to take the water. We're not supposed to get any water. I'm being told, I don't know, but I'm being told, and we're waiting on more information, but I'm being told that some of the very wealthy people are actually leaving the country. That's what I've been told. That some of our wealthy persons who live in this country, they're leaving. What is it that they know that we don't know? If it is true. So we are to be all the windows of the sea that Father Hatch was fighting for. So is he about, did he hate investments then? Madam PM? Did Father Hatch hate investments and everybody who went before us? Don't you see that when you block out the windows of the sea, that we're going to get a lot of bit more of what we see happening in our country? Last night we went to our beds and we got up. 2 men killed themselves. 2 men were killed. I don't know the circumstances, so let me not say that. 2 men were killed. One was shot the day before. We know, as far as my calculations, we know of 15 murders in 14 weeks. That's what we have. We have officially surpassed the crime rate in Jamaica. The crime rate, the rate per capita. We have officially, for this quarter, between January to where we are now, to March, beginning of April, we have officially surpassed Jamaica. And we're talking about spirituality. We're talking about all of, going, listen to me, a lot of people, they might not set foot in a church, but they can sit down on the sea at the beach, and they just sit down and they take in all of that ocean and the energy and all of that that's coming to them, and it brings a calm and a peace to people. Correct, Andrea? We had there today, it's being reported that it appears that someone, they're thinking that the person tried to commit suicide. What's happening to Barbados? What is going on? I said in my title, is this a social apocalypse? Are we experiencing a social collapse? Is it a breakdown? Don't we see that there's a breakdown of our social structures, governance, our cultural identity being taken from us? Something is happening. We are experiencing a societal collapse. Something is happening in our country, folks. There is a societal collapse that is taking place. We heard of fires, all of these fires, and the people in Bayland, Nelson Street, in those areas, you really need to begin to ask your government, what is the plan? What are the plans for us? What's going to happen to us? Wellington Street, correct. Ask, if you're listening to me and you're from those communities, you need to ask. Now, as I said on this program, you can call me a conspiracy theorist with this one, but those fires are just pretty, there seem to be a lot of coincidences that's happening, and a lot of strange things to me happening with those fires. I'm not saying that it is so. I'm just telling you that it's very it makes you things that makes you go, I don't know. I really don't know. We will talk a little bit more about this. A lot of people would not know, but this happened in the UK, where there was a huge drug bust of about 2.6 million Barbados dollars. Right, 1 million pounds. And the passenger originated from Barbados. And it went to the UK. And they were caught in the UK. We've got to talk about that. We've got to talk about that. We'll read the report for you. Wow. Wow. I say to us, Black Coolie 39, that I just smile at your name, but that we're not able to sustain this. We can't sustain it. We can't sustain this kind of murder, these kind of killings, and all these things that's happening. We cannot sustain it. We cannot sustain it as a nation. We're going to look a bit more. We're gonna discuss a bit more. But tonight, we have with us coming up Mr. Nigel Newton, and I'm seeing him there. Not sure if his devices are on. I hope everything is good with him, and that he's on. If Dave could check on him, please, so that we can flow tonight. And he's going to talk to us about democracy. Your camera is still off. And while we do that, I'm going to ask you guys to share. Please share, please share, please share. And, how could we start? How can we go any further without talking about Monday night? It wasn't Monday night also. Who was happy to see the general? Monday night, that's just beautiful, really beautiful. It was great to have seen the general. And I just want to publicly say, Mr. Franklin, I want to thank you. I've said it to your face, and I say it now on the show. I want to thank you for the way you inspired me, your support. I mean, everything, all the things everything that I've learned from you. Sometimes I'm on the show and I'm thinking, I'm saying, how would Mr. Franklin deal with this now? And so I want to personally thank you. And I want to say to you, Mr. Franklin, you have created a lot of casual Franklins all over the place. All over the place. And I know a lot of you want him to come back on, every night. No, we want him to rest up. We want him to be well. And so if it's up to me, as I told him, Mr. Franklin, don't rush to come on every night. If you want to come once a week or, every 2 weeks, it's up to you and how you're feeling. Don't let anybody push you to come out. Let him rest up and let him, keep his energy. What we need to do is to carry on what we have learned from him, carry on the heritage, carry on what we've learned. And that is what would make Mr. Franklin very, very happy. Come on, get out to the marches. He always said, I don't know what else to do to get the people out to the marches, right? So I want you to really, really, really come out to the marches. I think that would make Mr. Franklin very, very happy. All right. Well, I'm seeing Mr. Nigel Newton ready. Mr. Newton, give me a thumbs up if you are ready to go. Yes, I think he's ready to go. Yes. Okay. Good night, Mr. Newton.
Good night to you, Marcia, and to Dave, and to all the courageous members of the People's Opposition. It is really good to be here with you again tonight.
Great. It's great to have you. I can see you're full of energy and you are ready to go. And what are we talking about tonight?
Oh, well, given the events that have been taking place in Barbados recently, I wish to concentrate on the topic democracy and
Yes.
illusion in the power
Structure
of
of the global elite.
the power structure of the globalists, yes,
Yes,
of the
yes,
global elite, that is.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. And
So
yes, go right
go
ahead.
ahead, you go ahead.
No, I'm giving way to you. I
Ah,
want to hear. I want to hear.
okay. I sent Dave um uh some information there, the chart, or yes, the chart or the diagram. I
Yes.
want him to um post it so that um the folks can begin to examine it as I go along.
Right.
But
But before you what is it? Can you give us the reason you chose this topic? Why did you choose this topic?
sorry, can I give you the
The reason you chose this topic, democracy and illusion in the power structure of the elite. Why did you
okay,
choose this?
yes, there is a very special reason for that diagram because you see, uh, let me step back a little bit to what is happening in Barbados today. Okay, now with the sale of the East Coast, Joe's River, the Civic Center, GOVT'S Gully, and the Bridgetown area, the Garrison, all of these are areas that are of serious concern to me. Now, um, we are saying, in fact, what I would like to do is to thank Mr. what's his name
Hines,
again?
Adrian Hines?
Adrian Hines,
Yes.
yes, Adrian Hines, Mr. Millington, Adrian Millington. I'd like also to thank the leader of the opposition, Mr. Ralph Thorne, for explaining to us the nature of the Westminster system of governance. Okay, and they are saying, or the idea is that since we are operating within the Westminster system of governance, we cannot do anything about what is happening to us. But I disagree with that. I disagree with that because I would say that our system of governance
Yes.
is rooted in or is a copy or a part of Western democracy. But what this chart here or this diagram is saying to me, and by the way, I must refer to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who in her book, The ISIS Papers, explain all of this, and also Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. They have written extensively on the meaning and implication of this diagram.
Yes.
Now, as you look at it, you will see, let me get my copy because I'm not seeing the one on the board as clearly as I would like. Okay, but what you are seeing here is the 9 areas of people activity. Now, as people, we interact and relate within these 9 areas of what they call people activity.
Yes.
Okay, so and then our system of governance we are claiming is democratic, but I am saying that we do not have a truly democratic system of governance, because when you look at that chart there, or that diagram there, you will see, that, for example, from let's start with economics.
Yes.
The rules are governing economic activity. They are predetermined. We as a people had and have no say in determining the rules and the operation of economic activity. All of those are prescribed and presented to us. Then when you go into
By whom? Presented by whom?
okay, all right. Dr. Creswellson, in her book, The ISIS Papers, she was explaining to us the global power system. This global power system is designed by white males. Okay, and it is to protect and guarantee white domination of the earth. As you see, it is, she has it here as the global system of white supremacy. Now,
Okay.
when you look at what is happening in the world today, you would see that everything is controlled and determined and decided by the Western world, particularly the Western man. Okay? So all of the rules in the area of economics are determined by the West.
Okay.
Okay? Then when you go to education, education again, the theories of education, they are all determined, predetermined by us, and we have just accepted these definitions. In other words, the reality is predetermined or is determined for us. We are not seeing the world and relating to the world from our own viewpoint. We are not seeing the world through our own eyes. We are seeing the world through the eyes of Western man.
Interesting.
I don't know if you follow me there.
Yeah, I'm following. I'm definitely following.
Good. So in education, in entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, these are determined how we relate, one, and how we define these concepts are predetermined by Western man. Now, for example, in the area of politics, we're told that democracy began in Greece. That is not true, though. And governance, or the principles and the philosophy of governance, are determined by Western man. Okay? And if we go outside of the prescription that are the prescriptions that are given to us, then we would be out of sync. And for example, the government in Cuba would not be described as democratic because they're saying it is socialist or it is capitalist and so on and so forth. So if we are to be truly democratic, then we will have to behave and act and carry out the instructions that are given to us according to this chart. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Good. Okay. And this is a power structure that is controlling all activity on the planet. Granted that the BRICS nations, they are trying to they have sought ways and means to get out of this control. But for now, our system of governance and all that we do are determined by the principles and the philosophy that are contained within these 9 areas of people activity. Okay, so that you will find, for example, let me illustrate that in a more vivid way. You remember in the Niger, the Republic of Niger, with Ibrahim Traore.
That's, you mean Burkina Faso is the same? I think, yeah. Okay,
Sorry?
go ahead.
Abraham Traore. Now,
Yes.
the French people,
I got you.
they were controlling, or they previously controlled vast areas of the Sahel.
Yes.
Okay, in Africa. But despite the fact that they are claiming that those regions are democratic, the French government was controlling everything. Even their very currency had to be lodged in the central bank of France, and they had absolutely no control over their economic future.
Yes.
But Abraham Traore, he overthrew that system.
Okay, so you're saying he overthrew the global system of white supremacy is what he overthrew.
Sorry, I missed that. Let me see if
he overthrew the global system of white supremacy. You're saying
in Niger, he rendered it ineffective.
In Burkina Faso.
Sorry?
In Burkina Faso.
Yes, he rendered this system ineffective in Burkina Faso.
Yes.
Okay, and then in Niger and the other French-speaking states, they rendered this system ineffective, so that in economics, the president or the citizens of Burkina Faso are now determining the rules in economics. And they are no longer now under the control of Western imperialists. Okay. Another area that I could illustrate for you is, say, for example, in the area of sex. Now, you know that in fact, let me step back a little bit. The highest ideal among us is the God ideal. And the most basic activity that we human beings and animals indulge in is procreation. Okay, so in the area of sex, for example, the Western world has decided, they have made certain definitions. For example, gay marriage and so on and so forth. Okay, gay marriage. They came up with that term, gay marriage, so that, and they have set the rules in that area such that I think before President Trump, in fact, during the time Vice President Kamala Harris was in power, she traveled to Africa to force the African people to accept the LGBTQ agenda.
But some people will say, are you hearing me?
Let me see if it is my computer.
Okay,
maybe my volume is a bit low.
Because I'm hearing you well, but I don't know.
All right.
Okay, is everybody hearing? Can you hear me well? Okay. So what I'm saying, I'm asking, are you saying that is part of the global system of white supremacy?
It is.
Okay. Now the big question, though, Mr. Newton, is how do we move away from this system?
Well, we will have to examine the system, okay, and see where it is not working for us, and we will have to liberate ourselves from that control and domination. We as a people, as a nation, must be able to determine the concepts and principles that guide us on life's journey. Right now, we cannot do that. And I'm linking that to the situation in Barbados with reference to governance and the ownership and control of land in Barbados. And
Yes,
I would
let's
like
go
to
there.
start.
Let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah. No, the Prime Minister of Barbados entered into some kind of an agreement and agreed at some stage that the land at Jemmott's Lane will be given over to the African Exim Bank.
Yes.
That was done in stealth because I recall Mr. Ralph Thorne indicating that after the budget debate, he was absent from Parliament, and immediately after he left, or sometime after he left, they introduced the resolution to vest that land at Jemmott's Lane to the African Exim Bank.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and I recall that Adrian Hines and others, and I think the opposition leader, Mr. Ralph Thorne, they have concluded that since that was debated in Parliament and passed in Parliament, then it is a done deal and we cannot do anything about it. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that because the government is elected to run the affairs of state on our behalf. And any life-changing national decision must first be introduced to the citizens by way of a national consultation before it is enacted, before they are enacted into law. Okay? The vesting of the land at Jemmott's Lane was not brought to our attention. We knew nothing about it. The government sprung it on us suddenly. It was a surreptitious deal, right? And we knew about it after it was passed in Parliament and became law.
That's correct.
Okay? And the leader of the opposition concluded that since it was passed into law and the African Exim Bank now own that property, we, the citizens of Barbados, cannot do anything about it because it is law. And they are saying, well, we cannot do anything about it. We can't take other steps to bring that to an end because we are a democracy and we have ways and means of changing the government by democratic means and so on and so forth. But I oppose that because for me, this vesting of that land in the African Exim Bank, the Holton Civic Center, all of these are acts of criminal deception, sedition, and high treason against the citizens of Barbados. And we, as the citizens of Barbados, have a moral obligation to hold the government to account and demand that the law be rescinded and that the land return to the citizens of Barbados because it was done in stealth.
Right. So here's a question. I mean, a lot of people are agreeing with you. But the thing is that how are you, if the title has already been passed, how do you just go and take the land back? Oh, okay. So you're saying that the premise on which the land was transferred, that was illegal in your mind.
It was illegal.
Okay.
It was illegal. How you know, how could a government that is, say, how could a government that really loved the people, is operating in the interest of the people,
Mm-hmm.
and is, how could they do that to the citizens? How could they? Uh, why should we, as the loyal citizens of Barbados, law-abiding citizens of Barbados,
Mm-hmm.
accept such behavior and such action from the government?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me go a little further. I remember before I retired as a probation officer, a young man, 16 years old, he was arrested, searched, and the police found 4 marijuana seeds in his pocket.
Seeds.
4 marijuana seeds in his pocket. 16 years old. He was charged and taken before the court for possession of drugs. Okay, another example I can give you. I remember some time ago, around the same time, a ship belonging to a prominent construction company in Barbados came in with illegal substance.
Yeah.
The custom brokers who cleared that ship through customs were arrested and charged and had to answer to the court. But the owners of the boat were not charged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The government has committed serious abuses of power.
Okay.
What they have done is an abuse of power. Investing the land at Gemmott's Lane in the African Exim Bank.
Right. But that's the thing that I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I can just go by what the lawyers are saying. And so what I'm saying, I understand the abuse of power. And I do understand that yeah, the way that they went about it was with stealth. I understand that. I believe that. But as Adrian is saying here, that it's not illegal under our current system. The Prime Minister and Cabinet runs Barbados. They legislated and passed into law the effects that gave the land to AFREXIMBANK. So, but I mean, I understand the feeling, though, that there must be something that we can do. I understand that, though.
Yes, but we do not have to accept that. We can have the law changed. Now, let me give you another example. I would have referred in a previous presentation.
We just have 5 minutes, but it's interesting.
Okay, I can conclude in 5 minutes. I can conclude in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I recall that I discussed. I mentioned traditional African constitutional law.
Yeah.
Okay. When the Europeans, the British, went into Africa, and I'm referring to Professor Madden from Oxford University, they discovered or they labeled the African system of democracy as primitive.
Yes.
And he concluded that in order for British indirect rule to be imposed on Africans, then the African primitive system of democracy will have to be dismantled. Okay? Within African democracy, it is said that the land belongs to the people or belongs to God, and there is no sale of land. But Western man went into Africa, disrupted the African traditional African democracy, imposed British indirect rule on and I think if you go to number 8, paragraph 8, Roman numeral 8, they disrupted the African way of governance, democracy.
Yes.
Okay, and impose Western democracy on them. But in traditional African democracy, whenever the king or the chief did anything against the wishes of the people had the power to instantly remove them from power. But
Okay.
in Western democracy, so-called Western democracy, it is imposed on us, and the government then is given 5 years to do whatever it wants to do. And in our situation here in Barbados now, where previously there was no parliament was not properly constituted, in that there was no opposition leader, okay, government continues to make decisions,
yeah,
and not in the best interest of Barbadians. And I am saying government has gone too far. And
yes,
we, the people of Barbados, need to hold the government to account and demand that that law be withdrawn or rescinded, or whatever the best word may be. But we cannot and must not accept what the government has done and just throw our hands in the air and say, well, it is law, so we can't do nothing about it.
Well,
it is wrong.
Yeah, you know, Miss, it's a big discussion. As I said, that I have spoken to lawyers, and they have said to us, well, Marcia, is the system and that we're under, and this is what it is. You hold a different view, and you're entitled to that, and lots of people agree with you. You know, I think for me, I think that what we have to fix our mind on is, you know, continue to look to see what is possible. How do we come together? One of the ways is to let them know how we feel about it. That's why we're going out on the street on Saturday, right? So we're not taking it. We are saying, no, we need them to see that we are upset about it. So that's one of the first things. And then Adrian is saying that we have to decide that we're going to vote them out. You're going to have to be able to at least start there, show that you disapprove of what's been done, and decide that you have to vote them out, and then take it from there. But as it stands at the moment, you know, I don't know. I mean, as I said, we have different views on it. People have different you know, solutions, etc. And we're all entitled to that. For me, I know what the lawyers are saying, and so it would have to be that, you know, we seek to come up with, you know, something else. I don't know. But one of the ways that we definitely can do, Nigel, is to get out there on Saturday and to show that this is how we feel about it, and to vote, and probably to come together, to put our heads together to see if there is some other way, right? But I would like for you to stick around, because I know that people are going to want to call in at 9 o'clock. Remember, guys, that we're going to call in at 9 o'clock and to discuss this a little further. All right. So
Yes,
thank you so much. Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes. Stick around, Nigel. Stick around. Okay. Thank you.
I shall.
Yes. Yes. Go right ahead, Dave.
Barbados, I should be here. I back this property here in JEMMOTTS that may give away to the Africans. You understand, for this bank and stuff. All she talk about give away land. You understand what I'm talking about? This land should be for housing for the people, the poor people down here. She could have put some government units about here, so the people about down here could live a better place. You understand what I'm saying? I can't understand this woman. Can't understand this woman at all. You understand what I'm saying? Look at these houses. You see all these houses being here? These houses got to go. You understand? I know, listen, Kerrie Symmons, they're talking about how long this land here have been resting. Yes, this land been resting, but this land belongs to people, though. This land belongs to the state. This belongs to people that have no game here. This land free to people. You understand what I'm saying? Look at all these houses. See all these houses here? Let me think people gonna want to put a bank and a hotel here. All these houses don't be here like a ghetto and stuff like that. You understand what I'm saying? All these houses here got to go. You understand what I'm saying? I can't understand what Mia really doing in this country. She got Kerrie Symmons book there, all the book they're talking on nonsense. That's not for the Marcy. We sure we would never hear Kerrie Symmons' voice. You understand? Talking. Well, I should have come to people with these things first. You understand? These things is not good. I know a lot of properties being here got to go. So now the street people prepare with themselves because they're moving when they're out. You understand? They're moving out. That was she moved the gas. I believe that was she moved that fire station for there, you know, because she had bigger plans for them, but it may really work yet. Anyhow, and Matthew B said, I even think that church they're gonna go. That church and the school back behind there, take them got to go. Now I call no all be just this Saturday for March from liquidation center straight up to the same property. I got the back rate. But I want them to come out. I'm calling all on Nelson Street. I call the whole Barbados man this one because these things is not right here. You can't take land and just give away like this. Give away land, just give away land. But people come out here and do what they want. And you understand if you exempt from certain laws, that means people can come in Barbados and kill a man and don't get a day. You understand? These things is not right, Miss Prime Minister. Matthew B, out of here.
Listen, yeah, I somebody said here, I feel you, my brother. I hear you. You mean I tell you, you could feel the passion in this gentleman for his land. He you know, he really is passionate about this, you know. And I see Mr. Strickland is there, but I think David's gonna play the ad. Go right ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Not for sale, my people, not for sale. No, enjoy the beach and sun all day, but nature's not for sale. This place not for sale.
Calling all Barbadians to stand up and show your love for Barbados and call for the preservation of our heritage and land. This Saturday, April 5th, 10 a.m., let us march together from Liquidation Center to JEMMOTTS Lane. Join in this public demonstration of patriotism and celebration of national pride.
This place not for sale.
Wow. I tell you, Mr. Strickland, oh my word, Barbadians are standing up in national pride. They are standing up strong. They're standing up tall. You know, that young man just went and used his phone and took that picture, and it's just gone viral. And this is what I'm saying. You know, I think Mr. Kazza Franklin, wherever he is watching, he would be proud. Welcome, Mr. Strickland, to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, Marcia. Good night, loyal opposition. It's good to be here. I remember when the central bank was to be built, there were those in Church Village that were moved out because you couldn't put a central bank next to Pearson, the kind of house that they were in Church Village. So it's and that was a Barbados bank. You can imagine now a non-national bank. I want to thank the UD Marcy Show for not only highlighting, but educating. So it's good to be here tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, tonight you're here to talk about the NIS. And let me tell you, I want you guys, I know everybody, you're focused on the land, but I want you, you know, we can do a lot of things. We're ambidextrous. We can talk about the changes to the NIS, right? And at the same time, we can talk about the land, right? So I would like for you guys to get a pen and a paper right now, right? This is the education part of this thing. This is important. Don't go away. Don't go away, all right? It's going to be very important for you to stick around. So you're giving us an overview tonight of the new policies and the economic impact of these changes to the NIS and to this fund. So can you go right ahead? First of all, thank you so much, because you are an expert in this field. We were introduced to you by Mr. Kazza Franklin, who said, Marcia, you got to get him on the show. and you have decided to come on Wednesdays for a couple Wednesdays to really explain this to Barbadians. And Mr. Franklin, thank you, and thank you to Mr. Strickland. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Incidentally, the first location of the National Insurance Department was in Jemmott's Lane, on that same compound that has now been given away. That was the original location of the National Insurance Department in 1967 when it was established. Now we are looking at the new changes to the catastrophe levy fund. We need to recognize that this fund was established many years ago, and the fact that it is a fund, these monies are only collected by the National Insurance Department. They are transferred to the consolidated fund. Well, not the consolidated fund. They are managed, sorry, by the board. Now, from the while prior to the 1st of December 2023, the fund being managed by the board now, and the staff being managed by central government, the board now has taken total control of the fund and the management of the staff, so that they make a determination of how the National Insurance Fund is spent. But this catastrophe levy is transferred to the consolidated fund, where under normal circumstances it is it is managed by Parliament. So that I remember just before elections in 2018, the present government, while in opposition, accused the Democratic Labour Party, which was in government at that time, of using the catastrophe levy for political gain. They accused the present opposition for using the catastrophe levy for political gain. Now they have total control of that levy, and that levy, prior to the 1st of April, the employee contributed 0.1%. 0.1%. Now, I want to go to slide 4. Please go to slide 4. And the fund actually was set up to offer quick assistance to individuals.
Yes.
Quick assistance to individuals, which was a good idea, and it still is a good idea.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we all know of many individuals whose homes were destroyed, not only in Brett, the Free Storm, and some individuals only have moved into their homes as of 2 months ago. And I know of 2 personal situations here in St. Lucie where individuals were renting for all of these years, so that as much as the catastrophe levy was designed to offer quick assistance, it is used for political gain, and it has not been as quick in being used for the reconstruction of persons' homes. Yes, we do know that there are issues with individuals. The owner of the land might not want to grant permission for that home owner to repair the house, have the house replaced, so that there are issues. But there have been those whose the land belonged to them, but they have been displaced sometimes, as I said, up to 3 years, even though there's a catastrophe levy. Okay, so that in slide 5, as it were, there is that safety net that the fund was designed to ensure, just like the National Insurance Fund in itself. National Insurance, the logo, the theme, more than a contribution, is your lifeline. And there are many persons in Barbados will testify that National Insurance has been their lifeline. So it's a safety net for many individuals who, for one reason or the other, are out of work or are now retired. So
Yes.
that, in truth and in fact, it is necessary. But there is the cost, and if you go down to because we only have half an hour and I want to spend some time on a certain aspect of it, down to slide 7.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. So with the raising costs, because there's the raising cost of home replacement and so forth, it is necessary for certain increases. And in order to sustain the fund, government has sought to increase and change it from the catastrophe level now to a regenerated, a resilience and regenerated fund.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that while on one hand the budget was touted to be a no tax budget,
Mm-hmm.
this increase, the change of the name and increase, is going to have some small effects, but some deep effects for a lot of individuals, because prior to the 1st of April,
Yes.
the employee paid 0.1% of the catastrophe levy. The employer did not pay towards the catastrophe levy.
Okay.
From
Only
the
the
first of
employee.
Okay, so from the 1st of April, 2025,
Mm-hmm.
and if you go now to the slide 8, you're going to see where the contribution rate now has changed from 0.10%
Mm-hmm.
to 0.25%. So there's an increase of 0.15%. Now, that in itself could seem to be very small, but when that is added up, it is a cost both to the employee, so that any individual in Barbados earning $21 per week or more,
Mm-hmm.
and up to a maximum of $1,219 per week or $5,280 per month,
Mm-hmm.
there is that increase by the employee of 0.5%. Now, from the 1st of April, that 0.25% total that the employee is now paying is matched by the employer.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the employer now pays an amount of 0.25%. And while, as I would have indicated earlier, there was a maximum on which national insurance contributions are deducted of $1,219 per week or $5,280 per month. So in
Yes.
other words, for any individual working in excess of those two amounts, weekly or monthly,
Mm-hmm.
that amount is not recorded at the National Insurance Department. In other words, the excess is free of national insurance.
Ah.
But know that with the change in the budget, it has now moved from paying the catastrophe levy, only the catastrophe levy. It is now going on your gross income, so that
Okay.
while an individual working for $10,000 per month
Mm-hmm.
previously only paid the catastrophe levy on 5,280,
Yes.
he or she is now paying up to their
10,000.
10,000 or how much ever
Whatever
that
their
person works for.
gross is, right? So there's no
Yeah.
longer any limit. So that
There's no
limit
limit.
of the five, that's something to write down, guys, and to note it. So we have the facts of what we're talking about. Continue, sir.
So that the question is, how will the employer report those earnings, because on the submission, only the 5,280 can be recorded, because it means that when you apply for any type of benefit, it is being paid on $5,280 per month or $1,219 per week. But there will be, and I believe it is already in train, how the employer will now record the total earnings and the catastrophe levy which will be sent in. Now, there's something I want to share very quickly, because for self-employed persons, and this is not in relation to now the catastrophe levy, but I am bringing this in because it does affect self-employed persons also.
Okay.
Because a self-employed person will now be paying the catastrophe levy, the same 0.25%. Now, national insurance legislation indicates that any person who is gainfully employed for $21 per week or more must pay contributions. Now, there was legislation passed for the 1st of January 2024,
Yes.
which changed for self-employed persons, which in my humble opinion is illegal. For the simple reason that while an employee can pay contributions on $21 per week or more, and therefore qualify for benefits, for the self-employed person, they have fixed their minimum at $134 per week. So therefore, you who are self-employed, they are indicating that you must pay contributions whether you work for or not on $134 per week. That translates into $100 per month. Now, having to pay $1,200 per year in contributions to qualify for 52 weeks of contributions is extremely hard for many self-employed persons in Barbados. Now, the difficulty arises and the situation arises where, because a non-contributory pension is not an automatic right in Barbados because you are a citizen of Barbados, once you do not qualify for a contributory pension, you will apply for a non-contributory pension. All applications for non-contributory pensions will be interviewed.
Okay.
Based on the interview, if the officer determines that that person was self-employed by virtue of the fact that they were working, okay, then if they have not paid any contributions because they just cannot afford to, and we're talking about a case where for the last, say, 30 years, this person was working where they were not paying contributions, that pension, all things being equal, will be referred to the board, and the board will disallow that pension. So we have thousands of persons in Barbados who were gainfully employed as self-employed, who struggle to pay the contributions and are receiving the pension, but others who could not afford by virtue of the fact that it was really expensive for them, which is now even more expensive. Then it means that a lot of those persons are not going to get a contributory, non-contributory pension. I remember raising this at the ideas forum at the Jordan Secondary School, and I saw the Prime Minister and the Attorney General looking at each other, because I want someone to challenge that legislation which forces a self-employed person to pay $1,200 a year in order to get 52 contributions. And if they do not pay that amount, then the non-contributory pension will be disallowed. So going back to the catastrophe levy, it means that there's an additional cost to persons who are self-employed and who are employed. Okay. Let us go to slide 10. Okay. I'm going to provide some additional information to what is there, which makes it a lot easier to understand. And I would have shared some of it just now in respect of the increase of 0.15%. Yeah. Now, let's say, for instance, and we're looking at the employer side. Okay.
Employer
side. Okay. So we have an employer who would have had a wage bill of say $40,000, and that's not a large wage bill for some employers in Barbados and so forth. Well, he or she did not have to pay catastrophe levy to the National Insurance Department, and I'm saying not on behalf of the employees, and I want that to be abundantly clear. This money is not being paid on behalf of the employees. The employer's portion of 12.75, the employer pays on behalf of the employee, so that the employee is covered for employment injury and certain benefits that they do not contribute to. But he is now paying that tax, because it's basically a tax of 0.25% in this catastrophe levy. And with many businesses in Barbados who have a serious cash flow problem. Yes, there are a lot of employers in Barbados who are struggling. I can tell you from experience that there are many employers in Barbados who, and this is not in defense of some employers, but this is a reality, that there are some employers in Barbados who it is not that they're taking out the contributions and not paying it in, but the employer has to pay in a total of 23.85, okay, previously, okay, 23.85, which is the employee and the employer's portion. And some employers are struggling to be able to pay after paying salaries and overheads. They are struggling to pay the contributions, but they keep the businesses running for their sake, yes, but for the sake of the employees. So with this small increase in the catastrophe levy, it is a burden for employers, and therefore you are looking at a wage bill of $40,000. You're looking at about $100 additional every month on behalf of employees, and that $100, while some may consider it to be a small amount, it is a cost which that employer can least afford. Okay, so that for individuals who are working for $5,280, that's an increase now of $7.92 on their pay back at the end of April. So while the government is handing out $300 per year for some persons in Barbados, there are those who are going to be paying something like $31.20 of that amount. So it's being given in one hand and it's being taken in another hand. So that
they're going to have, some people might have to pay out of that 300. You're saying?
Of course. Yes, there are those persons who are pensioners and others who will it will not be a cost to them. But like as I shared last month at the town hall meeting at the St. Lucie Parish Church, while they're giving us back $32 a rebate on the water, and the member of Parliament Glenroy Strong was in attendance. I indicated, well, you are giving us back in one hand for the dirty water in St. Lucie, you are taking it away from the working population in the catastrophe levy, so that the government, while on one hand they would have indicated that it was a no tax budget, it is not so much a no tax budget. So that if you look down to slide 13, we go down to slide 13 because my time is almost up. sorry, go back to slide. I think that would have been 12. I mean 11. 11. Go back to slide 11.
Slide 11.
So okay, where you see the cash flow challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are those cash flow challenges that individuals will experience, and as I said, cents, and well, we don't have cents any longer. 5 cents and 10 cents, everything adds up, and as a result, there are those persons who are going to find that some of the disposable income that they would have had prior to the 1st of April 2025, that no longer exists. So the last slide I would want to look at would be slide 13.
Yes, and we have 7 minutes because we started a little later.
Okay, right,
Yes.
right. So that we're looking at the economic.
Hello, can you hear him? Can we hear him? He's frozen. Okay, guys, this is good stuff. He's frozen. I don't know if Dave can reach out to him to see if he will go back, because this is going so amazing. Folks, please, this is great. Those of you who might want a copy of this or more information, we can make that available to you. Folks, please keep sharing and liking. I wonder if Dave could reach him and to let him know that there's a problem, and if he could go out. If you can hear us, Mrs. Strickland.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, you're back. Oh, yes, you got stuck for a while. Keep going.
Oh, my apologies.
Yes,
right.
yes.
As I said, I remember when we had the 8% pay cut many years ago. There were many public officers who went through a very, very hard crisis because what was taken from them was what was their food money. You're looking at a situation now with bus fare at $3.50. You have certain areas in Barbados where there is no public transport, and even though traveling on the public service vehicles is less, this increase in catastrophe levy will have a very serious effect on some of those individuals.
Yes.
So that if government would want to say that this increase is minimal, then it means that they could have done without increasing the catastrophe levy. And because this adds up, I'm saying that we have been hearing on numerous occasions that monies being borrowed, yes, monies being borrowed are being borrowed for in case of crisis, hurricanes, and whatever else.
Yes.
So that on one hand, we have been paying for many years towards a fund which was supposed to be used for those purposes. There is no reporting to Parliament. There is no reporting to Parliament how those monies are being spent. And that's why government over the years have developed funds to whether it be a sewage tax, whatever else, so that these monies are not managed by Parliament. And as a result, this increase, I fear, will be further used for political gain, so that elections not being far from now, there is going to be more money available that may very well be used. I said may very well be used for providing materials, providing whatever else, so that individuals will feel favorable towards the government, not recognizing that they are giving you your own money. They are giving you, I mean, yes, they have been taking the money from you, and then they're going to be giving you back your money with the pretense that they are doing you a favor. But the truth of the fact, they're not doing you a favor. So that I would hope that what we're shared tonight in respect of the catastrophe levy would be a appetizer for other presentations on national insurance for the future, because as you know, we would have discussed, there are many issues that that are on the table that need to be discussed. And if I would quickly mention one, and this is an unfortunate situation, and I am coming across this almost every day. I'm serious that persons are calling me because last year it was determined that, well, there was a statement out that national insurance is paying all pensions, both pensions from the National Insurance Department, the non-contributory fund, and from the Treasury.
Yeah.
That is not totally correct, because the monies that are being paid from the National Insurance Department for government pensioners who, by virtue of the fact, will be receiving a Treasury pension,
Yes.
the consolidated fund has to pay back national insurance. But what has been happening is that there are a lot of individuals, they assume that because both are being paid from national insurance, they do not have to make an application to the Treasury, sorry, to national insurance for their pension at age 67, which is the pension age at present. So that only last week, sorry, there was a gentleman, when he went to the bank on payday, there was no pension there for him, because he assumed that his pension would have continued at the National Insurance Department. When someone told him to call me, I told him, no, you must make your own application at the National Insurance Department. His next question was, so how soon I may be able to get my pension from National Insurance? I tell him, I do not think under 3 months. So for the next 3 months, he's going to be without a pension. So if he has a mortgage, if he has children who he's supporting in their studies overseas, because that's where we as pensioners are at. You know, we are still supporting children who are overseas studying. All the other expenses, which are medical expenses, for the next 3 months, he's going to have to dig into whatever savings he has. And therefore, I would want that something be said at the National Insurance Department. I try whenever there is a town hall meeting, whether there's a forum to articulate these things, but for some reason they go unattended. So therefore, I would want that persons who are in receipt of a pension from the Treasury, that they know that it is their responsibility to apply to the National Insurance Department anytime under 6 months, preferably 3 to 4 months before they reach 67. Because at age 67, your pension from the Treasury will be stopped.
Okay, so
it will be stopped.
Right.
And I can tell you of persons who were part of a trade union, who you would assume that they knew, they did not know. And therefore, when they reached 67, I was given a call, and I'm saying to you that there are those even from the top who were at the top who are now retired and receiving a pension from the Treasury. I want persons to inform other individuals, please apply for your pension from National Insurance. Anytime between 3 to 4 months, so that by the time you reach 67 and the Treasury stops your pension, you will already, at least you should be ready to receive your, to go from a Treasury pension over to your National Insurance pension. So as I said, I do appreciate the time offered, and I will seek to assist persons along with a number of other persons who are retired, because I'm not the only one. There are a lot of other former staff members from National Insurance who are still providing assistance in information. But I think I believe the office has a responsibility to have a different type of public educational program, whether it be in town hall meetings, whether it be in seminars, whether it be at Argo Fest or BMX. There are a lot of career showcases for schools, but I think that Nationals has to step up. Now that they are full board, they need to step up
step
to
up and
provide this kind of
dedicate.
information. Okay.
Well, you know what? I want to say thank you. This I really need to see my book. This reminded me of when Caswell used to do this. That's how I learned all of this about national insurance. It's through the show. Actually, you need to see my book. But I thank you so much. This has been very informative, and I heard my husband in the other room say, really?" So it's been very, very good. And I know you'll be back, God willing, on next week Wednesday. Because we're going to do a series of them. So send us your questions. Send us what you want to know. We do have Mr. Stephen Strickland is a former senior official, I say, at the National Insurance. And so by the way of Caswell, he's here with us to share with us his knowledge and to answer the hard questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Strickland. I would love if you would. Can you just hang out there, please? Because there's another reverend coming in. If you don't mind, and you can I'll put you in the green room so you can listen and move around in your house, and then you might be able to come back in if you have the time. Okay, all right.
I'll try to. I'll try to.
I understand.
Continue to enjoy the program tonight.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, thank you so much. Okay, well, thank you, Mrs. Strickland. At Saturday we have there is coffees. There's a jazz event by one of our viewers who's just recovering, and so I just want to support her in this because she's self-employed and needs and so she has an event, Jazz at Coffees, featuring Luther, Francois, and friends. Rhea Drakes on keyboard, Luther Francois, saxophonist Neil Newton on bass, and Ricardo Francois on drums. And this is at Coffees restaurant where we had the event for little Amaya, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to give you some good news on Amaya soon. And this lady, she had arranged everything for little Amaya to happen at that restaurant. She didn't ask me to do this, but she's recovering, and we want to support her. Dave and I, we're going to be attending as well. All right. So, okay, wonderful. Well, guess who I have for you tonight? The one and only Apostle Linroy's Canterbury.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, all the heavy hitters are coming back in, all the heavy hitters. I tell you, sir, welcome once again to the Marcia Week Show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you so much, Madame Marcia. I really appreciate you for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to be on the show on tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with you as well.
Yes, sir. Well, just before you even start, I want to show you something because I don't know if you've seen it before, but there is an article, and if Dave could put it on the screen, that was in the Times, I'm being told, and it says here that a wheelchair drug stash. And you wonder, wheelchair drug stash? What does that have to do with us here in Barbados? Apostle, nearly $1 million worth of cocaine hidden in the seat and backrest of an electric wheelchair was found during a security check at Manchester Airport. A gentleman's name here, yes, Casimara de Lemos Francisco, is 56, a Portuguese citizen who had flown in from Barbados, was arrested. He will appear in court next month, accused of drug smuggling. No, we're not going to hear about that in Barbados, are we?
I guess not.
No, but the reality is, I'm looking. I saw this today, sir, and there's a reason I'm showing you this now. So we heard about this today. We heard about the two gentlemen who were killed last night. The one that was killed before. We heard about the young 13-year-old that was gunned down last Tuesday. We're here. We're home. We're hearing that Nelson Street on fire. I mean,
Right.
it was, and I'm here. I heard that there was a fire here in, although that was a little different. Here in St. Philip, and it's just like, what else? It was even, I don't know if it's confirmed. It's an unconfirmed report that there was a suicide attempt in somebody tried to cross the road. I mean, it's just like, what else can we take?
Mm.
And when I
Wow.
heard of all that was happening today, here we have on screen the fire in Nelson Street. When I heard of all that was happening today, I said, let me call Apostle Scanterbury, because this is I mean, who would imagine that you would have a drug bust that occurred in the UK, but the person traveled from here, Miss Reverend Scanterbury, with that amount of drugs, $2.6 million, approximately Barbados dollars worth of drugs, and they were not detected. I mean, something is wrong in our country, sir. Well, I just would love to hear your thoughts on what is going on.
Well, listen. First of all, I sat here and listened to Reverend Strickland, Bishop Strickland, that I know very, very well, a wealth of knowledge and information, and I hope that more people got the chance to listen to what he shared with us about what's actually happening there with the whole issue with the NIS and pensions, and how we are being bamboozled by this present administration. But let me go ahead quickly in the time that I have to share with you, Marcia, and help our listeners to understand something that is very, very important. Barbados is no longer what it used to be. And when I say this, I'm not just talking in terms of our national landscape, um, but also in our international presence. And one of the issues that we have in Barbados is that the island, and this is my opinion, doesn't have to be, I'm not asking anyone to believe me or to agree with me, but this island is under severe witchcraft, okay? Severe witchcraft. And I would take you back, Marcia, to when our flag was buried in Ghana a number of years ago. The videos came out. We actually saw our flag draped over a makeshift coffin that was made, from what I understood, from 12 pieces of wood indigenous to Barbados. And it was lowered into a grave that was created for it. I saw a gentleman who would have performed rituals and libation over the flag. I would have seen him pour water or some kind of fluid into his mouth and then spit on the flag. And then our flag was buried in there. Now, the reality is that we have laws governing how our flag is to be used. And there was no response to that from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There was no response to that from the church. There was no response to that from the government. There was no response to that from the opposition. It was just allowed to happen. Now, I'm a spiritual person. My job as an apostle is to not just preach to my members, but to be very alert in terms of what is going on around our nation, in terms of the spiritual climate, both within the nation and also in the upper regions above Barbados. And what I have realized is that because of this situation that took place, I think this was 2018, because of this situation and the fact that there was no response asking why this was done, what is the whole rationale behind taking our flag, finding remains from a 300-year-old Ghanaian slave, creating a coffin from 12 pieces of wood indigenous to Barbados, going up there, having all of this done. Our PM making statements that the circle is completed, this is a year of return. All of that is demonic talk. And unfortunately, it was not addressed. That level of witchcraft in Barbados was not addressed when we had the opportunity to do it. And because of this, this has now led to a very huge level of activity over the nation. Now, let me explain to you and to our listeners what happens here. There are two realms. We understand there's a realm of good and there's a realm of evil. And from my studying of the Bible, if you go back to Genesis 1 and you read about day 3, in Genesis 1, the Bible tells us that from verse 11 right down to verse 13 is day 3. And in day 3, the Lord calls forth vegetation. He calls forth plants and trees yielding seed, be yielding fruit after their kind and this is on day 3. Okay. And then in day 4, he makes the sun, he makes the moon, he makes the stars, puts them in the heavenly. So on day 3, you have trees bearing fruit with no sunlight. So this is a dimension that we must understand, that there's a place where things can still function within darkness. And this is what these individuals understand. They understand this better than church leaders. They understand it better than church people. They understand it better than the masses who are out there. And so when that was released over Barbados, that level of witchcraft that was placed over the island, and what will begin to happen is that witchcraft dimension, which comprises of elements of satanic spirits and demonic spirits, they will filter down into the areas of the island where corruption exists the most. That's where it would happen. And what will take place at that point, you will see a rise in corruption, a very sudden, a very harsh rise in corruption. And then you will get all of the other elements that are spill-offs from that dimension that has now gone to a very high place over our nation. So because of this understanding, this is what we are seeing right now. So once that dimension of witchcraft has interfered, or it is now come to a place where it has affected that realm of corruption, then all of the areas, all of the drugs, all of the financial corruption, all of the giving away of our land to banks, all of the financial corruption, business corruption, gang warfare, murders, suicides, all of these elements are going to suddenly appear because this is what is happening over the island right now. And so because of this, this is what led to Barbados being in the state that it is in, because of the level of witchcraft that is over the island. Now, this is very, very important, and I need individuals to understand this, because as a man of God, and in reading my Bible, Moses understood this. We read Psalms 90 and Psalms 91, where he speaks about the arrow that flieth by noonday. He talks about the pestilence that walketh in darkness. But he reminds us that we're not supposed to be afraid of these things. So this is actual manifestation that is going on. Besides this, I know of hands-on situations in Barbados where people have been using this witchcraft level for business prosperity, to gain advantage in the workplace, to gain the advantage over individuals, even as far as to get persons to fall in love with them. All of this is going on in Barbados at the moment. Besides this, Marcia, you want to look around the island and see all of the demonic murals that have been painted, and they have been put up strategically around the island in an effort to interfere with individuals on what we call a subconscious level. In other words, the more that you see something, the more it gets into your psychology, the more it gets into your subconscious mind. And this is what is happening. So over and over, so you have a rise, especially like during COVID. You want to look at the fact that coming out of COVID, now that we understand that COVID was a lie, now we understand that the vaccines were not really tested. Now that we understand that these big pharmaceutical giants, they never really did the work. They lied the whole aspect of COVID being an international lie. Now we have all kinds of things that are happening here in the island. We have, the sudden death syndrome. We have people who are with blood clots. We have people, being diagnosed at stage 4 cancer. We have folk with all types of systems and all type of diseases and things that are happening to them because of the vaccine. We have the promise that if you die from the vaccine, we will assist you. But if you die from COVID, we don't know who's going to assist you. We had all of this stuff going on. We had all the lies that came up. We had all of the lockdowns. We had all of the shutdowns, all of these things that took place in our society that gave the underworld the opportunity to rise up. Then let me say this aspect that was very troubling, to the fact that you had 4 young men who would approach media houses to express to the media and to the nation of Barbados, we had an agreement with this administration, and they brought their word with those 4 young men. That was never investigated. Nobody hardly said anything. That got swept under the rug. And ladies and gentlemen, you have all of this level of corrupt activity that is going on, and it's now gotten to the point, listen to me carefully, it's now gotten to the point that this administration knows that they're going out as the worst administration that we've ever had. I've said it openly, and I've got a lot of, I got a lot of slack for it from ministers and individuals. This is the most demonic government we've ever had in the history of dealing with governments. This is the most demonic government we've ever had. And so there comes a place that we have to recognize and understand this. Now, I've been doing my homework, up to this moment. I understand, these very heavy lies that were levied on the people of Barbados during COVID. And for example, and I'll just share this, the whole issue of the republic status. Now, during a pandemic, and this is on the WHO's website, during a pandemic, especially one like COVID, the WHO takes over, and they state that during the time of a global pandemic, no citizen of any nation has any rights. So therefore, during COVID, no one in Barbados had rights. Okay, so to mask the fact as to why they were able to implement the COVID unit, who disrespected the people of Barbados in a very severe way, to mask and to hide the laws governing nations by the WHO, right in the middle of the pandemic, an election was called, and then we subsequently went quickly to the whole issue of the republic status, where no constitution was, and then we became a republic with no constitution, because during that time of a pandemic, the WHO says if you're a citizen of a country, you have no rights. The WHO rules, so you have no rights. So the idea that we are in a republic and we are working on our constitution, that itself was a lie. Now let me say this: you cannot, as a government, function like this with your people and do not expect either a response from God or a very dangerous response from the demonic. And what has happened is that now that this administration is getting a major response from the demonic world that they can't handle, you got to understand, you dance with the devil, he's going to change the music on you. And he's changed the music on this administration. This is a very, very serious situation that we are in. And I'm going to tell you this: I don't think we're going to know how deep the rabbit hole is until we have put this administration behind us. And a lot of people say, Apostle Canterbury, I don't like, he don't like being multi. That has nothing to do with it. The fact is that I understand my country. I understand what God's plan is for my nation. And I know when it is being taken away from where God wants it to be. Now we're at a point where things are so hypocritical that, we come out of COVID, there's no post-mortem on the effects of COVID. People who've used up their savings during COVID, the impact on the youth, the impact on the elderly, the impact on education, the impact on healthcare. I mean, nothing. I've personally had conversation with undertakers that have said clearly, in all of their time of doing their business, they have never seen so many blood clots in people. And one particular conversation, the individual said, I'm hoping that the government would actually come out and apologize to the people for what they did in asking them to take this vaccine. So I said, listen, you guys that you know what's going on, you guys need to have a press conference, Undertakers Unite, and you all need to tell the people of Barbados what's going on, let them know what you're finding, so that it will put pressure on the government, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the CMO, and all of those individuals to know that Barbadians got hoodwinked, they got disturbed, they got destroyed during COVID, and now, during that time, the church was shut down. The first aspect of the nation that got closed was the church. The last aspect to be reopened was the church. You had bars, you had nightclubs, strip clubs, restaurants. You had all those that were reopened before the church. And then you're now coming and saying, hey, we need the church to help. You can't disrespect the church like that and then come and say, we need your help. There must be some type of apology. There must be something to say we made an error. You can't just come and be, lauding yourself and doing all of these different things and expect that, you're going to have a response from the Lord at this season. And I'll tell you, Marcy, I just came back from London. And while I was over there, I was talking to a nurse from Barbados. And she explained that they're having a problem over there in England. And let me explain this so that those who are listening would know. They said the nurses from Ghana, the ones that are here from Ghana, they're actually applying for positions over there in England. And they're coming over from England, they're applying, and they're stating in their resume that they were working in high positions in Barbados, and they're being trained in Barbados, which is why they're being accepted. And she said in one particular case, one of the Ghanaian nurses called in and said they weren't coming into work. Day one went by, day two went by, day three, and then by the time the administration here contacted the individual, they were in England working and never said anything. Now, what she also explained is that over there, some of these Ghanaian nurses that are saying that they work in high positions in Barbados, they don't even know to do the basic things in terms of even administer something as simple as an injection, or know the protocols, the processes to use to intervene in cases of shock and different things. And she said in some cases, patients died because they did not know what to do. Now they're asking what type of medical system we have in Barbados, that people are working in high positions in the medical arena in Barbados and coming there to work and don't even know the basic things. We got a big problem. We got a big problem on our hands, Madam Weeks. And one of the things that I need our people to understand, we're not going to know all that is happening until we put this administration behind us. And it's not a matter of, it's not a matter of not liking them. We understand in the last 6 years, Barbados has gone backwards probably 25 years. So we need to do something now in order, first of all, to break the level of witchcraft that is off our nation, because the whole issue of gun violence and crime, it is not within certain circles of the wider population. It's in a very small percentage of our population that has been affected by this witchcraft. It will come to that lower realm first, and as they cascade, then it will implement a dimension where there's great fear on our public. And our people here in Barbados should not be living in fear.
Yeah.
So when we have a political leader that is, going to say, I'm planning on meeting with the gangsters to help curb gun violence in Barbados. No, you don't meet with gangsters to discuss the issue of crime. You meet with your commissioner of police. You put things in place to make it safer for Barbadians. I mean, what type of sense What type of stupidity is that? So we have reached the point, ladies and gentlemen, that in Barbados, because nobody has been forceful enough, and I've spoken over and over and over and over in an attempt to sensitize the public of Barbados to what is actually happening. We have a very dangerous dimension of witchcraft that is functioning in Barbados right now. I am telling you this point. Our children, 11, you've seen the videos, you've seen them steal vehicles. Our children, 11, 12, 13, during COVID, they were the ones on the block that were doing the lookout. They're the ones that when mommy and daddy could not have the money, give them the money to do certain things, the guys on the block gave them the money. So who they gonna respect now? You think you're just gonna get them in church now? They're not interested in church. They're interested in being a part of what's going on out there. They're interested in cockfighting. They're interested in gambling. You see what is going on. You see what is happening. And all of this, you take the time to sit quietly and pinpoint where it all started. I'm telling you, Marcy, it all started when our flag got buried in Ghana. That was the root, and that is still the root. And until somebody from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs goes up to Ghana and says, we're taking that flag out, open this crypt, and let's get our flag from in that grave and get this witchcraft from off of our people and stop this process of linking with Africa. Now, I'm going to say this here on your show. Please permit me to say this. Let me explain to you what this administration and what our current leader is doing. The election is just around the corner. They can't get away from it constitutionally due next year. So the best thing to do, if there is a chance of losing this government, let me set things in place so that I can still control what is happening in the nation if I lose the government. This is where this bank, and giving this bank 5 acres of prime real estate. This is what it's about. This is what all of this setup is about. This is to make sure that I can still dominate the landscape. Because if these people were brought in by me, then I'm the one that they will come to when they want to make decisions. I'm still going to be a part of what is happening. And this is why it is very critical for even the Democratic Labour Party, as they rebuild, to have a greater understanding of what it's going to take going forward to actually bring change to Barbados. And I see all the stuff that's happened, all these hotels that they're building and all of this stuff. Listen, I guarantee you that Barbadians are hardly going to know anything that is going to go on within the walls of that bank. They're going to have security so tight that you're not just going to be able to walk in to that building on a daily basis. I guarantee you'll never know. We will never know when a whole group of witches are in that building. We will not know what is going to hit Barbados. So there's a need for a restructuring and a need for the church to sit and to say, okay, yeah, we got hoodwinked during COVID, because we can't be following people who have just demonstrated to us that they're willing to follow the rules and the regulations of people who did not even take the time to sit quietly. And all of the people, all of the BAP, the Cancer Society, the Heart and Stroke Society, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the CMO, they dance around everything except the effects of COVID in Barbados and what's happening to our people. And this is why it's so important right now for the church to stop playing games. It's time for the church in Barbados to stop kissing up and sucking up to this administration and point the finger at them and tell them, y'all are responsible for this, and somebody has to take accountability. Somebody has to take the blame for what is happening in our nation, and we will not allow you to cast blame on the parents. We will not allow you to cast blame on the church. We will not allow you to cast blame on the citizens of Barbados. We're pointing our finger at you. You were the chief cook and bottle washer to everything. Barbados was the leading point in the Caribbean as far as COVID was concerned. And now we're at this point where we're seeing the fallout.
The fallout
all of this level. yeah, from all of this level of
Let me ask
witchcraft.
you something very interesting, Apostle. And listen, we have all kinds of different people on here. We just had an expert in the NIS on. And so, you know, this is Apostle Royce Canterbury, and what he deals with is in spiritual matters. And sometimes we say, you know, that the church is not involved, etc. And he's willing to get involved. So we have him on the show, and it's good to hear different perspectives. But you know, let me ask you something, Apostle, while people get ready to call in. All right, I want people to get ready to call in. Let me ask you something before I think Mr. Newton is getting ready there. In light of what is happening in Barbados at the moment, with all of these killings, I mean, as far as my count is that there are 15 that has occurred in the short
15,
space
yes,
of time.
15.
Right. So I want to, we're as a man of God, when you think of Vibes Cartel coming to Barbados in the next 18 days,
Right.
the next 18 days, what is the response on Easter Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean for Barbados? What should be the response of the church to something?
Okay. Okay. And I'll give the answer in two aspects. One is that we understand that Easter is a season that is solemn and sacred to the church.
Mm-hmm.
The church's position on the matter,
yes,
should be one of serious revolt against this on the lower realms, as the reality that it is sacred to the church. Now, I'm not particularly a religious person, but on two levels, I want to give this to you. So the church's response is to have a conversation with the government of Barbados and the producers of this show to let them know that we are, number one, we are
the producers of the Vibes Cartel show.
Please repeat that.
You're saying the producers of the Vibes Cartel show?
Yes, the government and the producers of the Vibes Cartel show. And let them know that this is during the time that is sacred to the church, and we are not in favor of it. And we will not allow this to happen. And let the government know in that meeting that if you allow this show, we will go to the church, we will meet, and we will petition the church community, the Christian community in Barbados, to take a vote of no confidence against you, and we will ask for your removal from government. That's the response of the church. That is straight to the point. You don't want to be pulling around, pulling punches. You want to go straight to the heart of the matter.
One of the things that we learned, one of the things we learned though is that really and truly we can't call for a vote of no confidence. It is the 29 in there. So what we would have to say, the church would have to say, is to let her know that we will not be voting for you. You know, office.
But I understand that it is on some levels possible because the people are the ones who elect the government. And if those who elect you are not happy with you, and we have a letter that is sent to the president with a certain amount of signatures, they have to respect the public. We're the ones who put them in office. They're not in office by themselves. So that is something that I know of that can be done.
Okay. So let me ask you, is the church though at a position? Where is the church on this Vibes Cartel thing? I mean, where are you guys?
Well, I know where I am. I know where I am on it. Okay. In relation to the fact that right now I don't put anything past those who are part of the underworld, because I know that entire Vibes Cartel concert is just a smoke screen for what is actually going to happen here behind the scenes in terms of the whole witchcraft and the governing of Barbados under the principle of witchcraft. Now, the second aspect that I want to share with you is the element of prophecy. Okay.
Okay.
And in prophecy, there is a place of where leaders of nations, they've made that one critical mistake that the Lord says, I am going to remove you at this point. So my place in prophecy is to let them have the Vibes Cartel show so that God can have a mark against a final straw. Now, something as simple as
but could you
something
hold
as simple
right there?
as
Hold
yes,
right
ma'am.
there. I think. Well, go ahead. I'll tell you. But a call is coming in. Okay. So I will signal. Keep speaking, and I will
Okay.
signal to you. Go ahead. Yes, go
Okay.
ahead. I'm
So
going to signal.
as a matter of there's a situation. Daniel 5, where Belshazzar the king, he goes and he gets all the gold goblets and silver goblets that came from Jerusalem when they conquered Jerusalem. And he's having a party that night, and he decides, I'm going to use the sacred things from within the temple in Jerusalem. And that night they had the handwriting on the wall. And within an hour of the handwriting on the wall, he was removed. Darius the Mede came and took over his kingdom. So sometimes instead of being fearful of what they're attempting to do, where prophecy is concerned, just like Jezebel, okay, sometimes you have to let them take those moves that the divine will come in and finalize the removal.
Yeah, just give me some
Yes,
one
ma'am.
moment. Stick a pin right there. Caller, good night. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, Miss Weeks.
Good night, good night, good night. Great to have you.
Miss Weeks, I've been minding my business.
Yes.
But I would like to take you back. This is an elementary school boy where he went to school at this standpoint. So I would like to take you down the road. Now, some time ago, what is happening in this country is that we are going back to the days of the 50s when her grandfather.
Okay, right. So don't call any names. Okay, please. Yes.
The grandfather.
Okay.
Who uses to control the city and all the taxpayers' money.
Okay.
From land tax, bicycle tax, motor car tax. Okay?
Yes. Somebody's grandfather. Yes.
When Mr. Barra came to power, or we would say government, Mr. Barra said if Muhammad don't come to the mountain will go to he would. Anyhow, what I'm saying is this here. Mr. Barra took control of all of this money.
Okay.
Because in those days, you see what Barbados is seeing now is the return of the soup kitchen. Because in those days, you will have people line up, go to the park with some children, 5 shillings, and a cake, a suit of cake for their children. You had women who didn't have children will take some of the neighbors' children to the park, and they would get some money and some soup. A 5-pound skillet. I don't know if you will remember the 5-pound skillet of butter. And the grandfather would come downtown, the mayor of Bridgetown. I think Mr. Murray would help you with it. And he used to have Bridgetown block and a top hat, a 3-piece suit, a swizzle-tail coat. And when he put up his foot, the city is blocked. He used it to marry men and women. He married them there. And all the people in town had believed in the mayor of Bridgetown. You go back to the waterworks, where Mr. Seeley used to got all the money. And Mr. Barr also take away that and put it in a consolidated fund. So what we are seeing nowadays is that when we could give away our precious silver for 30 pieces of silver or land, this is the deal that we are going back. And if you don't be careful, if you take a good look, you will remember in the election time, if you watch the African movies and saw how that stage with the sofas and so on is in the African style. So what Barbados has becoming now is a modern day Africa. where the Africans will control the whole thing, the big people in Africa. And if you look at the movies, I don't know if the African Exxon Bank is going to have a big gate in front of it that when you go, you have to press a button, somebody will peep up before they can let you in. But this is time I want to pose also a question to Mr. Strickland.
Strickland.
Yes. What I would like him to do, because the union has sold out our nation. What Mrs. Allen spoke to tonight, the union should be doing this to their members. But one thing I would like him to explain to me, instead of saying percentage, I agree he would have to use percentage. But there's some people who do not understand percentage, Marcia. I was a trade union representative, and I used to tell people I was offered a cent in percentage for people, which I think was a big insult. And in those days, those people were being paid $90 a week. So, Marcia, we need to wake up. And I would like Mrs. Strickland to explain to people, I know he would use percentage terms, but if he could bring it down to dollars and cents, where people could understand, because some people out here doesn't understand.
Yes.
In terms, because when we go back, like how we was offered the 2% for the lower income people, that was offered to us in the budget. And as you explained to people, it's only $1.36. You can't buy a pack of biscuit. Martha, in these days, you have the Lions Club, and all of them offering health clinics. Martha, the pressure is on our people so great that when somebody goes to these clinics, their blood pressure, Martha, has skyrocketed. Skyrocket. And when you say to some of those people, well, listen, go and buy a drink, a juicy, or the other drink from the BBC. Some of these people tell you, Marcia, I cannot buy a drink. I cannot buy a pack of biscuits to help control the blood sugar so that they can go on to the clinic.
Right. So things are
because these
are
people
tough.
are taking these blood sugars, and so they really will only tell it's high or so, but they cannot do anything for you. So, Marcia, the people in Barbados is under pressure.
Yes, yes.
And when Mrs. Canterbury is going to talk, who's going to bail the cat? People in Barbados are afraid. Marcia, if you say something on the show, the God people will victimize you. I mean, we are neither taught or what we are not, as I said, we are not against the African bank, but the way in which it was done.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you. Caller, I mean, it's great, but I know that others are going to want to call,
Sure,
and I still want Mrs. Strickland to respond. So thank you so much for calling, and you could just listen. Turn up your devices and listening. Thank you so much for calling. Okay, God bless. Yeah. Mrs. Strickland, I know, right. Any quick response to that?
Okay. In other words, because the figures may seem to be small, but if a person is working for $400 a week, that person is going to be paying something like 60 cents per week more in national insurance. For some persons would say, but that is minimal. But as I said before, if it was so minimal, why did government decide to introduce it? Okay, the maximum earnings being $5,280 per month, that person will be paying an additional $7.92 per month. But because, as I said, it goes up now to your gross salary, you're looking at a situation where for a person earning $10,000 a month now, you can imagine that they're paying this catastrophe levy on that full amount. So we must stick to the percentages, but the dollars and cents, even though they seem to be small, it is a tremendous impact for persons who are living above their paycheck because of their responsibilities for children, utilities, medical expenses, and whatever else. So that is what it's about. I would want to say very quickly, though, something in relation to what Apostle Scantlebury would have just shared. We did not have a discussion, Apostle Scantlebury, but only this afternoon I was sharing whereby the church allowed itself to be used. I said I did not have a discussion with Apostle Canterbury, but
That's true. That's true.
he and his church were dealt a very raw deal. Things that was fed to the public, they were all lies until we all saw the actual video of the COVID workers who went into his church and the way how they behaved. There were those church leaders who, during COVID, were so much interested in the fact that they were still getting their financial benefits online, that they allowed the government to put the kind of pressure on the church to be closed. As an individual who is passionate about Sunday school, it was sad that that was the time when many Sunday schools were slaughtered. Even though the children were allowed to go to the supermarket and wherever else, they were denied the opportunity to meet in Sunday schools. And church leaders were all for it. What hurt my heart most of all at that time was the person who was pushing hard for the restrictions on the church to be relaxed was Admiral Nelson. Yes, the records will show that Admiral Nelson was one person who was fighting on behalf of the church. It was only when there was a meeting at the gymnasium with the Prime Minister and the entertainers of Barbados that the certain regulations were relaxed, and the church was given. In other words, the entertainers of Barbados had to fight on behalf of the church.
Wow.
It went so bad that churches that could hold 300 were being told, because of your space and the windows and whatever else, you were only allowed 20. So the government of Barbados must take mass responsibility for where we are today. There's no getting away from it. The government must take responsibility, because you had ZERDERS that were allowed to transport more persons than some churches were allowed at that time.
Reverend Strickland, just stick a pin there. This is the time where we allow the callers to come in.
Please do.
Yes. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Hello, good night.
Good night, sir. Welcome. What's on your mind?
Yes, I totally agree with Apostle, what he said tonight to Irish rap. And that's what God has been showing me a long time. And what he said is very, very true. It's not fairy tale. It is true. It is true. And I want to thank God for him for speaking up boldly. Yeah? So have a good night.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And let me hear from Nigel. Is there anything that you would want to contribute to this discussion, this current discussion here right now?
Yes, I think that it is unfortunate that the level of, well, I think it is unfortunate that we Barbadians find ourselves in such a dilemma today, because when you neglect the spiritual component of man, when you turn your back away from your spirituality, you are going to be open to anything, any kind of evil. So the idea is that we must be vigilant in our spiritual lives. We must be vigilant and protect ourselves against the negative forces that are in the atmosphere, okay? Because we have the side of the righteous, or the side of light, and the side of darkness. And if you do not protect yourself in a spiritual way against the forces of darkness, then they will overtake you.
Correct.
Yeah. You were saying something earlier. I hope you remember your point, Apostle. But I know you're ready to say something, so we'll go right ahead. We wait on another call.
Yes, ma'am. Bishop Strickland, it's good to see you, sir. It's been a while.
Good to see you. Good to see you, sir. Also.
Yes, sir. As he said, our ministry went through a certain time, but I knew what the Lord shared with me about the whole situation of COVID, and I stood my ground. I had to do it because I'm not going to be found in a situation where COVID is going to present itself as bigger than God. And I found that during COVID, this was the response. The response of the church to me was pretty awful. But I'm going back to my statement about the Vice Cartel show and the second portion of it that deals with prophecy. Now, many times in the Bible, you have to let leaders do that one thing that the Lord that is taking notes says, okay, this is it. All Herod did was ask that young lady to dance, and he gave her the opportunity, whatever you want, to have for the kingdom. And the mom said, listen, you asked for John the Baptist's head. He did that. He was gone within an hour. Saul tore the garment of the man of God, and the Lord told the prophet, let him know the kingdom is gone. Okay, Uzziah went into the temple trying to offer sacrifices. He got hit with leprosy. He was gone. Jezebel stole the man of the Baal's vineyard. The prophet came, gave the word about her. Jehu came, threw her off the balcony. That was the end of it. So time and time again, and this is why I'm not afraid of Vice Cartel coming to Barbados. I'm not afraid of that at all. Okay, so we have two things. The church can respond by having a meeting with the Prime Minister. Since you want the church to get involved in helping, we meet with the Prime Minister and the producers of the Vice Cartel show. We put our case to them about this. The second part, so let them have the show and let prophecy unfold.
Yeah. Well, especially if they don't, the Bible talks about, Reverend Strickland, how the heart of Pharaoh was hardened. And, and therefore, whatever happened to them. But they were destroyed with the sea.
That's
but
correct. That's correct.
But I like what you said, because I think the church could, if they want to, can have them at a place, because she says that the church is necessary right now.
There we go.
So the church needs to say, listen, we are necessary. We're saying to you, this is going to put us in a further spiritual decline. And what do you say about that that idea, Mr. Strickland, going to her and negotiating?
The Barbados Christian Council and the Barbados Evangelical Association, which covers the majority of the churches in Barbados, have been so absent, and I will say absent, because to the point where, unfortunately, some of those individuals have been offered positions in government. So the ability for the church to come together as a body to speak to the Prime Minister, I don't think that is going to happen so easily. Okay? And I don't think the Prime Minister's statements are so empty. They are for political expediency, and they make no apologies for it. Now, what Apostle said is what is also my position. If they decide that they want to go ahead with the show, it is not a show in Barbados. It is a show against God, and God will fight his own battles. This is not you see, when Samuel was being rejected, and he went to God, God said to him, it's not that they don't want you, it is me that they don't want. And therefore, we saw what happened to Saul. We saw what happened to Saul. And therefore, this is not a threat. This is only a matter of fact. we would have had a former prime minister that was ruling Barbados with an iron hand, who went to the garrison on Gold Cup Day, a Saturday, and by the Monday, he was dead. Do not play with God. So if persons think that Vibes Cartel is coming to Barbados, the Bible says righteousness exalts a nation. And therefore, I would pray that when things happen, that I wouldn't hear the same people calling on the church to pray. Because when you ignore the advice of the church, and then you find yourself in a situation, okay, why are you going to come to the church then? I'm not saying that we will not pray for you, but at the same time, we cannot dictate to God how he'll respond. He will, as much as a matter of fact, you remember when Moses was speaking to God. God said, listen, I don't want to hear you. I have already made up my mind. You want to say that you will not enter the promised land. So when God has made up his mind with all the praying and the praying and declaring to God, God will still defend the right of his name, name. And that's what Barbadians need to understand. This is not about Vibe Cartel. It's not even about us as Christians. It's about God's name, and he will represent himself.
He will represent himself. Yes. He will represent himself, Bishop. That's all I'm saying about that. The Lord will represent himself.
There's an aspect I want to, because we would recognize that a lot of the murders have been happening in St. Philip. Let's be honest and frank. Over the last 2 or so years, a lot of the murders have been in St. Philip.
Correct.
Prior to that, there was a lot of activity in St. Lucie.
Yes.
There was an individual who was living in St. Lucie at that time, who there was a restraining order against, and was resident in St. Philip. That person is no longer thing. We have to understand that there's a lot of activity which is influenced in Barbados by certain activities.
Wow.
There's a lot of witchcraft. We have to be frank and honest in Barbados. There's a lot of witchcraft being practiced in certain places in Barbados. And if you check the history of Barbados, you will see that some of these things. And therefore, I am glad that they want to put a civic center in St. Philip, because there needs to be responsible responses in St. Philip, because there are those neighborhoods in St. Philip, people will tell you that they're under siege. They're under siege. You know, we understand what the effect was at an earlier time here in St. Lucie. I'm telling you, you want to say something. And we can speak pretty in Barbados, but at the end of the day, these are boys and girls, men and women who are terrified to step out their homes. You want to say I'm saying, okay? And there are many murders that we are having all across St. Philip.
Yeah. Hold a second there. Hold on. We have a caller. We have a caller. Finish your point. Finish your point, please.
I'm finished. I'm finished really to that regard. You want to say I'm saying, but I'm saying that the commission of police has to be some person who answers to the people of Barbados rather than maybe to the prime minister or another person. You want to say I'm saying, and I think the commission of police needs to take full responsibility to be answerable to the people of Barbados rather than to the person or persons.
I agree, Bishop. I agree with that.
Everyone.
Yes, good night, caller. Welcome. Thank you for calling the Marcia Week Show. Do you have a question or a comment for any of our guests?
Yes, for Apostle Canterbury.
Yes.
I agree 100% with what he has said. And as the old people would say, you can't fly in the face of God. And when God is ready, You can't stop him or her. Whoever you determine God to be, you can't. You just can't. Look what happened to am I pronouncing it right? Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And for you, Marcia, I sent you a text, and I will tell you exactly where I know of at least 14 accesses to the beach from Backrock to Folkestone.
Yes, yes.
I'm absolutely certain you can get to the beach comfortably. There are a few others, but it's not easy.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I'll give you a call on that. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, yeah. Mr. Newton, you had a thought there?
Yes. While I respect and appreciate the emphasis on the spiritual or the lack thereof, and while I recognize that today the church has been, well, infiltrated by negative forces, I think we need to also pay attention to the demographics of Barbados. A lot of the criminal activity might be coming in via cultural infiltration. Barbadians are accustomed to being a courteous and polite people. We were never violent to that extent. And I think that with the influx of where the migration has gone mad, too many people are coming into Barbados from a different cultural perspective. The temperament is not as kind and peaceful as Barbadians, and I think that we need to look at how we can control our borders.
Borders, yes. Well, we
prevent. Sorry.
It's a good point. It's a very good point, and I think we got it. Let me just get the caller in, but I think we got the point. Good point. Thank you. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night. Good night.
Yes, good night. Welcome. Do you have a question or comment for any of our guests?
I have a statement.
Yes, yes.
I just want to say good night to Apostle Scantlebury.
Good night, ma'am.
You have seen is completely correct. And I will make this statement. The writing is already on the wall.
Okay.
Not all of the church has fallen or are silent. God has a remnant in Barbados that is on their knees, and their prayers and their intercession is rising before him on a daily basis. The blood of our son, a child, is speaking to Almighty God. It has been poured out on the earth in Barbados, and it is speaking to God. And God will respond. The prayers of the saints have gone up. And I'm saying, in regards to this fear that is on the island, fear not, Barbados. Fear not, Barbados. The time is set, and God will stretch forth his hand in his time.
Yes, ma'am.
What he has to do. And I will further declare that Barbados does not belong to the politician or to whoever feel they owe Barbados.
Yes.
Barbados belongs to Jesus.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well
Amen.
said. Thank you. Apostle
Yes,
Scantlebury.
ma'am.
Yes.
Well, 2005, the Lord gave me a vision about Barbados being, an island of gold. And He told me in that vision that I was supposed to just maintain it until it happens, that He was going to cleanse Barbados, and Barbados would become what He calls the Mecca of the move of the kingdom within the region and the world. So I know something amazing is going to happen to Barbados, but it is not going to happen under leadership that is moving the country away from God. It has to be under a leader that is open to the things of God. And, I recognize that even though Pharaoh under Joseph was open to the fact that the young man was able to share with him his vision and explain to him what the vision meant so that the nation could move forward into their 2 seasons of 7 years so that they can be properly prepared and move into what the Lord is saying. But I've found here that in Barbados, there's so much of a fight, there's so much of a battle against anything that is defined, anything that's godly. They would rather take prayers out of school and try to replace it with mindfulness. They'll allow entertainers to come into the schools on mornings and perform rather than allowing men and women of God to come and pray over the schools or lead the
Yes.
schools into prayer or into worship. There's just this just everywhere. It's just everywhere. There's this battle. And I think Bishop Strickland hit a very interesting point there in relation to individuals that are employed. And I don't think these ministers understand that this leader of our nation, when you accept a position, that's your boss. And you got to ask yourself, as a man of God, a woman of God, that's what I want as my boss. I saw Reverend, Rogers sharing very beautifully after Senator
Haynes.
Yeah.
Right. Take another half a minute to just close up that point. We have another caller. Yeah.
And my response as a man of God, if I was in that position, my resignation is next. I'm not going to be back there. That's wrong.
Yeah.
I got to follow righteousness. I'm not going to be back there next day. My resignation is immediate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hear this caller. Very good point there. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Hi, a blessed good night to all.
Okay, can you hear him?
Good night.
A little low. A little low.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me. You can hear me now.
Yes, much better. Turn up your phone and just speak a little louder. Thank you so much.
All righty. A blessed good night. I think what we must do is to listen very carefully to what our leaders are saying. Remember the term, give me the vote and watch me. Data shows more crime in this administration, but give me the vote and watch me. Or historic sites are sold. Give me the vote and watch me. There's no integrity, but give me the vote and watch me. No consultation with the citizens, but give me the vote and watch me. No, we are talking about Sunday school, but give me the vote and watch me. We have given her the vote, so we are now watching. Yes. So the decision is all up to us if we are still going to watch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Mr. Strickland, what's happened there?
Can I say something? Can I say something here quickly before Bishop comes in?
Yeah.
Let me just say this. You know, as a parent, if you don't send your child to school, you could be prosecuted.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it you can't be prosecuted if you don't send your child to church or take your child to church? I just want to put that up there.
You had a comment, Mr. Strickland?
Okay, as I said before, I have a passion for Sunday school, but you know, when I look back, and I think it was the New Year's address by the president of Barbados, Dame Sandra Mason. In her address, she implored Barbados to get back to Sunday school. Okay. Shortly after that, Minister Corey Lane, in an article in the Sunday Sun, implored persons to get back to Sunday school. But I'll go even further back than that. At the dedication of St. Saviour's Anglican Church, and this is over 30 some odd years ago, the then Bishop of Barbados, Reverend Rufus Brooms, he stated, the future for Barbados is in the Sunday school. And if we are honest, we would realize that when children are exposed to the gospel of Jesus Christ at a very early, impressionable age, it has long-lasting effects. And if you don't mean, you can go to say St. Lucia to some extent. St. Lucia is predominantly Catholic. And the Catholic will say, give me a child until they are, I think, 10, and I will have them for life. And I've had many situations where you have had Catholics and St. Lucians living in Barbados that might have hardly been to church since they left St. Lucia, but they will still tell you they're Catholic, and there's certain things that they still hold dear to. So we have thrown out the baby with the bathwater, with a lot of transformation, educational transformation, whatever else. And we are realizing that they are not providing us with the results that we so desire. And therefore, if we remove the old landmarks that have been established, we are having what we are having right now. So therefore, with all of the legislation does not stop anyone from committing crime.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Reverend. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, ma'am. Good night to you, the panel. And I would like to say something to Mr. Strickland.
Mr. Strickland, can you hear him clearly?
Yes, but pretty much so, yes. Thanks.
Yeah, speak up a little louder, caller. Thank you so much.
I'm hearing that the people in St. Lucia and St. Peter have to register with waterworks to get calling or something like that is to get the rebate. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think there's no truth to that. I think I heard a report, I think it was yesterday or so, indicating that with the next set of bills, there will be the adjustment. So there has never been any comment by government to indicate that there needs to be a registration, because the Barbados Water Authority is in full control of every meter in St. Lucie and St. Peter, and therefore I don't think it is a difficult job to make the adjustments on the bills for those persons living in those respective areas, which should be like the Boscobel area of St. Peter, the Six Men area and Colleton of St. Peter, and the whole of St. Lucie. So there's no truth. I've been hearing that same information, but I have not had any confirmation from the Barbados Water Authority that it is correct. They stated that from the April bill that the adjustment will be made, and I think very recently I heard that confirmation from the Barbados Water Authority.
Okay. All right, caller, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you so much. Yes. Welcome, caller.
Yeah. Good evening to all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I like the discussion on the Christian influence in Barbados. That I myself grew up in the Sunday school, and in my adult life, there were teachings that I found were useful. But before the education as an adult, a young adult, I became acquainted, or I pursued other ways of looking at life in terms of morals and ethics. And over time, I began to have problems with the dogma, Christian dogma, in the sense that I could, in terms of the scientific context, I could not relate that a body being brutalized and violated on the cross, and then was then buried in church, and then made a physical appearance. To me, from what I was taught in biology and all of that was an impossibility. And the other point that I had is the concept of God. And by the way, this idea, from the respectfully, where the pastor is concerned about superstition, really, that what he's essentially talking about, superstition, that phobia or whatever. In my opinion, respectfully, I think that's a lot of foolishness. Right.
Okay.
Anyway, the idea of God. I'm a Sunday school boy. I was under the Billy Graham crusade in the 50s. I got fully converted to Christianity, and I was the old Pilgrimage boy, the old church down in Albertus Road, right? And as a matter of fact, the pastor felt that I was good material for the ministry, put it that way. Anyway, so I was that dedicated and so on. Then I got educated along different lines. I explored how religions came about, and eventually, despite my background as a Christian Sunday school, at my age, I am not convinced that there is a God.
Right.
And let me rationalize it.
Right. So what's the point you're making? Hold a second, though.
This is my last statement.
Right. No. Right. I'm trying to get to the point so that they can understand. You understand? Because it becomes a religious conversation in the sense now where we are going to say whether the atheist is right and we don't want to go down that road. Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to what I'm trying to say that the government is excusing itself, and you all are reinforcing the rationalization of the government. What the government is saying, that it is not all fiscal policies that are creating the destitution and the degradation of our Barbadians is at a psychological and social level. You're saying, look, get these people into church. But the church do not put food in your belly. When you go to the supermarket, God cannot help you unless you have that money. You cannot get the food. So I will finish off now by saying two things that I question God, or I will say I do not believe there is a God, on two bases. And we have to, in Barbados, realize that there is a transition from supernaturalism into the material world. And the material world is what is important, not superstition. Let me finish there.
Yeah, no, I was saying to keep it back on the issue.
The other thing,
yes,
despite my background in Christianity, that has challenged me about God is the quantity of evil that God allows to perpetuate, and so on and so forth. Don't let the government get away by excusing themselves from the culpability by saying, look, the church is going to make the reformation and the church is not going to do it. Because, and let me tell you something, that whatever high morals you have, and you do not have the resources to survive, and that you cannot, at the basic level of having something to eat, all the moralities, all the Christianity, everything goes to pieces. That human nature, survival. Survival is important.
Yes.
No ethics, nothing can stop you. Your belly has to be filled, and there's too many people in Barbados are not getting their belly filled appropriately, and they will act in whatever means for their survival to get food there.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for your comment, and we're gonna you can listen back to your device.
I listen to you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
I just throw that out there.
Thank you so much. Yes, appreciate it. Nigel, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Do you believe that in speaking about spirituality, that's the point of it I want to focus on, because I don't want to become an atheist versus a believer. That's not the point of the program. So let me ask you though, do you believe that what the caller is saying, that the government is getting a pass because you're focusing on spirituality?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what is being reached for here, but I will say that I personally do not like to get into religious discussion.
And don't get into it. What are the questions I'm asking? Hold a minute.
What I'm saying, I don't like getting into religious discussion because it can become very contentious and at times very disagreeable. Okay, but I think though that if we as Barbadians, as people of African ancestry, can look again at traditional African spirituality and traditional African constitutional law, I think that we could handle or eliminate a lot of the criminal activity that is taking place in Barbados. I note also that the Christian perspective on traditional African Christianity can get very negative at times.
Right.
But
So this is
I
why
think
I'm
we need
saying
to go
this.
back to the law of Ma'at.
Okay, so this is what I am saying to you, to everybody, guys, and this is just how because we on the program we have people of different faith that's on. Okay, so what the question is, and that relates to the program is: are we, regardless of the religion and regardless of the kind of spirituality, whether it's African spirituality or it is whatever, the question is: are we? That's on the screen. Are we, is the government looking for scapegoats or its failure to wrestle crime to the ground? Are we using spirituality regardless of what the spirituality is? Do you understand the question I'm saying? Because that is, to me, is the question that we need to answer. Right? Yeah. Okay. So let me hear from Mr. Scantlebury.
First of all, in relation to what the caller is saying, there's a big difference between religion and spirituality. What he's talking is religion. He's not talking spirituality, first of all. The other element is, as a man of God, I've dealt with individuals who told me themselves that they were witch doctors. I've dealt with them across the Caribbean. I've dealt with witches, people who openly said they were. So when he says that it's not a foolishness, I'm sorry for him. The reality is that as far as spirituality is concerned, we're dealing with body, soul, and spirit. And the fact is that the Word of God teaches.
Reverend Scantlebury, I really want us to not get. I'm hoping that you're not getting into the rudiments of Christianity. We want to.
I'm staying on the base. I'm staying on the basic level. I'm not going to go any deeper. But I do want individuals. to understand that when you go out in the wider world and you get exposed to information and you make a decision to accept that information and make that information your reality, it does not change the truth. And this is very, very important. This is why we're talking about the spiritual concept about introducing individuals to the truth of their human nature, to the truth of the gift of God that is
So
Jesus Christ.
are we giving the government a pass? Is really the question here, to bring it back to what we're discussing.
No, we can't. We're not giving them a pass. We have been always here. They're the ones that left. They're the ones that are coming back. They're the ones that are coming back to the path. We never left. We were always here. The body of Christ was always here in Barbados. It's just that they never wanted to listen. They didn't pay attention.
Okay.
You know? So we never left. So we're not giving them anything. They're the ones that are making the decision, like the prodigal son, to come back home. Okay. So that's the reality of what we're seeing happening here in Barbados right now. So we're not fighting them at that. Okay. We're just saying that in spite of everything that is happening, why is it taking so long to recognize? Why deal the church such a deadly blow and then now recognize, okay, I made a mistake. But in the return, not saying, you know, we're apologetic for our behavior towards the body of Christ, and to now just say, okay, we need to get our kids back into Sunday school. We need to do this. We need to do that. The church needs to do this. The church needs to do that. We were here all along. There were some of us who never deviated from the path. So I wouldn't say that we're giving them any pass or anything. They have now recognized we have a very serious situation on our hands, and part of dealing with the situation is to make sure that we regain that spiritual presence, that spiritual component, especially on our nation and our young people.
Yes. And the point, I like the point that you made, you know, I mean, we must remember that it is the Prime Minister of this country that introduced this whole discussion in the last week about spirituality, where Christianity, where she was encouraging people to go back to Sunday school. So let's put this discussion in that context. Okay, guys? But we have a caller on the line. Caller, please turn down all your devices. There's a noise coming through. A very, turn down the devices.
My devices is muted.
Okay, wonderful. Good night. Good night. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, blessings is to all. Anyhow.
Yes, sir.
What we mostly calling for? You know, the caller called just now say it's no God. That's a negative. Because you're on the truth now, right? I believe it's light on the darkness. I find time BLP getting, I had a serious darkness over, you know, come over my body, and anytime I have a darkness over this country. So when he talking is also their light and their darkness, which I said at first. So basically, you know, all this voodoo, witchcraft, for everything I hear is true. Because you're honest truth, excuse me, in other administrations, I never come across an era like this here that, you know, you're feeling that bitterness, that depression, and etc. So when that caller say what he said, that's a total negative.
Okay.
But I feel that darkness take over Barbados right now.
That's your thoughts on it. Well, thank you so much for calling. This is our last call for the night, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, blessings to you all.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller, for calling. But Mrs. Strickland, as we close out, I mean, you know, there are people who I think the caller's comment about what I took away from it is where sometimes it might seem as though we are giving the government a pass by saying that, you know, we're waiting on this heavenly thing to happen, and if this heavenly thing doesn't happen, then the government is not going to be able to do well. Do you think that this is giving them a pass, this discussion tonight?
I don't see how anyone could really want to take away that we are giving the government a pass. Apostle Canterbury clearly outlined my thoughts, and that is that the government ignored some of our suggestions. The government did what they felt that they should do during COVID and after COVID. Only, I think it was over the weekend, I heard the Minister of Culture. I mean, it was literally pleading. I mean, actually pleading with persons to send their children back to Sunday school, so that there is a desperation, in my opinion, on the part of government for answers. Yes, that's why they're having the ideas forums. I spoke at the ideas forum in January, and I suggested that the government work with the Sunday schools, vacation Bible schools, so that and it's a very inexpensive request, so that more children can be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ, because volunteerism has taken an all-time low, and therefore some small stipends to assist with the work of the Boy Scout movement, the different organizations which deal with children. It's not just the church. There are those other organizations that are suffering and suffering very badly, and therefore government needs to step up and play a larger role in helping to finance. Yes, finance. These are the finances of the taxpayers of Barbados. So if you're going to be giving the kind of monies to consultants and other people, why can't you be giving, and this is not giving money to a church, a leader or a church? That this is a part of the church which has been in existence and has been work and continue to work extremely hard, to ensure that boys and girls are exposed to, as they would say, the gospel of Jesus Christ. Some may say it's to morality, some may say to whatever else, whatever label you want to say I'm saying. But at the end of the day, if we do not find a way of bringing up, exposing our children to certain basic forms of morality, of Christian values, whatever you want a label to put on it, we are going to go deeper into a hole than we are in at present. And therefore, it is no way that we are giving the government a passing grade. Actually, they are clawing themselves back out of the hole that they've helped to dig themselves into, and now asking the church, which has been there all along, to assist them in getting back out of the hole. You want to say I'm saying? But there are those statements that I'm convinced that are made from platforms and from behind microphones. It's only for optics. It's just for optics. I don't think that they're really serious or they really care much of what they're actually saying. So I question even when they say it and how they say it. You want to say I'm saying? It's like a recitation. You want to say which is convenient for the listening and the watching public.
Yeah, thank you. Nigel, any final words before we go tonight?
Yes, certainly. I think with reference to the idea of the Prime Minister, well, I think the Prime Minister is out of place to advise the church or advise parents to send their children to Sunday school. I think that is not her concern. I think what she needs to do is to pursue ethics and governance. The system of governance in Barbados is corrupt. There is no ethics and governance, and that is why we are having the kind of problems that we are having in the society. There needs to be justice. The government needs to respect the fundamental human rights of the citizens. The government must listen to the people, and if the government listens to the people, cooperate with the people, respect the people, then we will have, only then will we have a better society.
Yes, thank you, Nigel. Apostle, someone says here on the screen as we close, I said, I thought it was a very interesting comment. Adrian Hines, as long as we tend to those things that are spiritual and also commit to voting this government out, I'm good. We can do both. And I think the caller who called, is hinting at something. That sometimes we focus so much on the spiritual that we don't focus on the natural things. And Adrian Hines is saying, will the church do both? Can the church do both, really?
Of course, of course. Listen, I as a minister, heavily, I've had people that came to our ministry with nothing, people who came that were unemployed. And I understand as a minister, it's not my job just to minister the word of God, but to also show individuals how to improve their lives. So where we're talking spiritual and spirituality, we're talking right across the board. Spirituality doesn't just deal with the spirit and soul of the person, it deals with the entire man. And this is what a lot of individuals misunderstand. Even Jesus himself said it in Matthew 6, that all of these things that you are in need of, your Father already knows that you're in need of these things. But if you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all of these things will be added onto you. So there's no place where God is trying to hold anything back from anyone. But if you learn the laws and you practice the laws, you practice the principles, you get the results. So most of the time, people misunderstand when we're talking about get the spiritual component right, you'll get the physical component right. People want to get the natural component right, and then they miss out on the spiritual. But when we're talking spirituality, we're talking right across the board: body, soul, spirit, finances, health, relationship, marriage, business.
The whole thing, yeah.
It's the whole thing. So when we say spirituality, we're encompassing the whole aspect of the man, not just the preaching the Bible. But as Reverend Strickland said, it is important that people understand and they get the gospel of Jesus Christ. And this is so important for individuals to understand how critical the message, getting the message. You get the message, you believe the message, you receive the message, and you believe the message, you function in line with the message, you'll see change in your life. So when people think that we're just piecing things, taking this out and focusing on one thing, that's far from the truth.
Yes. Well, speaking of being spiritual and natural, on Saturday, pastors, on Saturday, there is a march, April 5th, 10 a.m., Liquidation Center to JEMMOTTS Lane. And people look at me and they said, Marcia, you can't be, you're one person said, oh, you're getting distracted and, putting on these marches and going on these marches and so on. I want to invite you guys, you pastors, to come out. I know, Apostle Canterbury, you've been on marches, you've hit the pavement many times. Many times.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Strickland has done it. And I'm speaking to you both because you are reverends, and you are there on the hitting the pavement.
On the truck as well.
Asking everybody to come out on Saturday, April 5th, 10 a.m. All of you who are liking and putting up prayer hands and saying amen, we need you on the streets. We need you on the streets. Saturday, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Do what you need to do and, prepare yourselves and come out. It's important. Let's take a stand for our country. Okay. God bless you all. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Apostle Canterbury, Nigel Newton, and Reverend, and you're not here as Reverend tonight, Mr. Strickland. Thank you all very much. Yes, God bless you all. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good night.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I am a believer. Yes, I believe good will conquer evil, right will conquer wrong. The weak will stand up and be strong. giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Oh, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Oh, cause I believe good will conquer evil, right will conquer wrong. The weak will stand up